Jesus.
Which one?
Crazy.
5 seconds.
Well, I don't
What you say?
deal with you. I mean,
And we'll start. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 meeting of the Select Board of Auburn. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 1-408-650-3123 and use access code 983-263-437. Or the public can join via computer at meet.goto.com/Auburn Select Board Room. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is anyone else recording tonight's meeting? Okay. So now we're going to have a board vote to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A8, to consider or interview applicants for employment or appointment by a preliminary screening committee if the chair declares that an open meeting will have a detrimental effect in obtaining qualified applicants. Provided, however, that this clause shall not apply to any meeting, including meetings of a preliminary screening committee, to consider and interview applicants who have passed a prior preliminary screening, to come out of executive session and reconvene in open session. Do I hear a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A8, in order to consider applicants for employment by a preliminary screening committee, which, if done in an open meeting, will have a detrimental effect in obtaining qualified applicants, to come out of executive session and reconvene in open session.
A second.
We have a motion and a second, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Dan?
yes.
Todd?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay.
Shrewsbury Street. There's like a bookstore. Oh, I love them. Okay.
All right, welcome to the March 23rd meeting of the Auburn Select Board. If you're able to stand, please do so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so now we're going to look at public comments. We have 2 people signed up. First, Eric Richard. Why don't you just come up and identify yourself and your address, please?
Eric Richards, Ravine Drive, Auburn, Mass. I have several questions and comments relating to an agenda item, Madam Chair. Would I be able to be afforded the opportunity to speak during the budget discussion, or?
No, it's... Are you referring to the town meeting warrant?
I'm referring to several items that are up from departments on the budget,
I beg your pardon?
as well as the warrant.
Okay, well, we're not going to be looking at the budget per se today. We're looking at the warrant articles. So I think you can speak now.
Okay.
Or speak later.
Of course. So to the town manager, excellent work. I don't think you get enough credit for the horrible boiler you've been put in for the last couple of weeks. With the changes and the other things that the board's thrown at you, having to put into exercise of the 2.9 million of free cash, so good work. I think it was impressive for a new town manager to come into a volatile situation like that. You definitely, good deeds deserve to be recognized, so thank you. Next, in January, Member Chambers put forth a request to have the budget include cuts and what those would look like versus the proposed budget. I don't think to this point that I've seen that has been published. I would like to see that published in the same meeting, and also previously in July 2025, Member Carpenter put forth a request to break out the discretionary and non-discretionary funding and the different pieces of the pie, if you will, of those budgets. I also have not to date seen that published. Would like to see that. Member Corain has put forth a proposal to open the books. Now, I'll say this precisely because it could be misunderstood. It's commonly understood in government finance that there are 2 books a municipality keeps for purposes of just general management. One is for a budget, and one is for the day-to-day, week-to-week finances and paying of invoices and warrants. I think typically when an open book or open gov type process is initiated and published on a public website or whatnot, it only includes the daily operating expenses. I would like to see the second book published as well as part of that. Next, our finance department in town here. Our chief CFO, she spends the majority of her time running down Excel errors, finding addition and subtraction issues, and buried in the weeds. I would like to request, as a taxpayer, that you all look into either empowering through the town manager department heads, or finding or elevating the current CFO to be in a position where she could start to look over a longer horizon of 5, 10 years and not have to worry so much on the day-to-day spreadsheet type things. And this will become clear why I make this ask in a moment. Next, we have a challenge that has been on the horizon. In July 2024, S&P published the bond ratings report, does so regularly, and regularly in the past for the previous several bond reports. Although we did achieve an AA+ rating, we were held back, and it explicitly stated one of the things that held back a better bond rating for this town is its pension liability. Now, it was blatantly published there and has blatantly been published at the Southern Worcester County Retirement Board that the deadline was moved up from 2040 to 2036, and that it must be fully funded. At the moment, or last budget, it was approximately $1 in every 9 of our levy that went to fund that. Because of the accelerated schedule, that's going to grow to 1 out of every 5. We're going to see it increase to approximately 22% of our levy. I, as a taxpayer, would like to see this board and the Finance Committee and several others develop a plan to cover the $55 million, or how they're going to budget for covering the mandatory $55 million of the pension piece that is mandated to be fulfilled by law. We owe it not only to our retirees, but also to the taxpayers. Next, I have a proposal that I think I would like you guys to consider or discuss at a future date, and that would be to develop a fiscal policy once DLS comes back with their audit findings as part of that review process, where the town would cap free cash at whatever the DLS best practice recommendation is, and any excess cash that comes in over the top of that be allocated into 3 baskets. 1 is for the pension, 2 is for OPEB, and this would be an equal allocation, and then 3 would be to offset the levy to give some tax relief to taxpayers. And the reason for that is, did a little research before we came in. I utilized the DLS website, which seems to be a great resource these days. And apparently, equitable value, meaning per capita wealth adjusted and equalized across peer towns, is the best way to evaluate on a fair playing taxation, which is great because our assessor's here. He's getting excited. My understanding is that Auburn taxes 11% higher than its equivalent peer, Millbury, and that amongst other peers, we're on the upper high end of middle, and some of those towns with a higher EQV wealth value are taxing lower on a per capita wealth basis, which I think is a valid point that should be considered as you go through the tax discussion with the Economic Development Committee and some other folks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on our list, John Lazone. And just identify yourself and your address, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Lozon, and I reside on Main Street, Auburn. I'm here to discuss transparency and accountability in my local government. I'm happy that a few things have been getting done already, especially the train tracks down there. It's a safety issue for motorcycles, and I'm glad it's being attended to immediately. This brings me to 1.5 miles further down the road, to Main Street, Auburn, halfway down. The warehouse that has those residents on Rockland Road fired up is also bordering Main Street. Residents of Main Street are bothered as well. That brings me to the bottom of Main Street. 1799 construction started, took 36 years to complete. 1835 up and running at full capacity. 2 years later, the town of Ward changed its name to Auburn. 1865, destroyed by fire, rebuilt. 1870, destroyed by fire, rebuilt. 1880, destroyed by fire, rebuilt. It was rebuilt so good in 1881, the town of Auburn had a huge celebration commemorating its opening. The reason there was a lot of fires is mostly it was caused by gas lamps and cotton dust. In the 1940s, a huge fire destroyed most of the mill again. In 1974, the final fire destroyed many of wooden buildings. Common chemicals used in the wool textiles mill industry between those dates are, but not limited to, arsenic, aniline, cadmium, chromium, lead, muriatic acid, sulfuric acid, lime, and mercury, produced as a byproduct of mercury. Early 1980s, 100% of that property was bulldozed over, including the most outstanding stone and granite work I've ever seen, 36 years to complete. The basement has remnants of steam-run pulleys and belts before electricity replaced coal and steam. That building was made so well the heavy equipment was unable to knock it down. It stands still today, 227 years later. It was water-powered by the man-made pond that bordered my yard. There was a huge trench that bottlenecked from the pond to the massive 20-foot by 20-foot square cut out in the cement floor. That trench moved the sludge from between two buildings over a very nice scenic bridge. It was extra nice to see as a little boy. My grandma worked there. She took me for walks. The bridge was my favorite because sometimes the water had color to it. I remember green and red were my favorite. The colored water flowed to meet the opening sewage from Witter Street. That concoction made its way to more industrial age, finely crafted stonework still visible today right along Brook Road. It then flowed under Rockland Road to the right side of my friend Gary's house. The Kettlebrook River flowed to the left of Gary's house. Kettlebrook River and the toxic soup merged in Gary's backyard to become one, and off to the Blackstone. Gary has been living there for 58 years. Gary has been living with stage 4 cancer, lung cancer and brain cancer. Even though the filthy trench has been removed, it doesn't mean the pollution is gone. Fortunately, right now, while the ground is thawing, the water resurfaces its ugly head right next to that warehouse that's becoming a problem. It starts running right at the outstanding stonework, catching stormwater runoff from a huge pipe, reattaching itself to Kettlebrook River behind Gary's house. That brings me to the stormwater pipe outlet from the bottom of Beverly Road under my backyard, spilling off a cliff. That water meets the Stoneville Pond inlet that wasn't fully buried by the bulldozers to flow underground until it empties into Kettlebrook. When it's very rainy, it takes two separate paths. Each enter approximately 3/4 of a mile apart from each other on Kettlebrook. I'd rather not be here discussing this for several valid reasons. However, Robert Lozon, my dad, would show up here to complain about the huge trucks that sped up and down Main Street into the mill. They stopped and used the Rockland Road entrance instead. He lived in my duplex for his whole life. He died at 76 years old of fibrosis of the lungs. My lifelong neighbor beat throat cancer, my friend Scott. Sandy Liberty, lifelong neighbor, she died of lung cancer at 49. Scott David, lifelong neighbor, lung cancer, 50. Mike Frutenthal, longtime neighbor, died at 51 years old. Scott David and Mike Frutenthal were my groomsmen in my wedding. Bruce Booley, longtime neighbor, died of 58 lung cancer. Bob Connor, kid that used to live across the mill. I rode dirt bikes with him in the mill. I recently found out he passed away from cancer. On deck, Mike Curran, stage 4 cancer, my next door neighbor. Ray Curran, stage 4 stage 4 lung cancer, next door neighbor. Gary Goodnow, the backyard sludge guy, he got stage 4 lung and brain cancer. With the exception of my father, all the names are all the kids that I grew up with from my neighborhood. Those are very close friends and family. That property may be as clean as a whistle. Common sense says it's not. Transparency and accountability. Do some soil and water tests. That trench running parallel with Brook Road must be town property. If not, I'm sure Gary will let you test his backyard. No one is looking for a penny. Everybody is looking for pollution-free, let's be realistic, a pollution reduction, safe neighborhood. There's other streets that border the mill. Besides Main Street, there's Witter Street, Francis Street, Beverly Road, Vincent Street, Charles Street, Oxford Street, Rochdale Street, Reno Drive, and even that big vacant house on Auburn Street right across from Bryn Mawr Ave. That brings me to the 4th of July parade on Bryn Mawr Ave that we enjoyed for over 50 years. That parade was removed around a decade ago. If the parade was early enough in the day, it probably wouldn't interfere with any financial conflicts later in the day. I don't come here as a veteran or a member of any organization. I come here as a concerned citizen, not to disrupt for disruption's sake, but to rebuild around ownership, dignity, and participation. If anyone thinks this property isn't contaminated, allow me to remind you that thoughts come from not knowing. I would like this matter handled right here in the People's House in Auburn. My philosophy is take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, kill nothing but time, and try to leave the earth better than you found it, or try your best to make it happen. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Rights are like muscles. If you don't use them, they go away. Freedom can be scary. Deal with it. If you decide to put your heads in the sand on this matter, don't put your heads in the sand near the Kettlebrook River. That would be gross. I also forgot something. Oh yeah. This brings me to the Revolutionary War Hero Cemetery right here next door, known as the Center Burial Ground on Central Street, Auburn, immediately adjacent to the First Congregational Church of Auburn. Total war soldiers buried there, 33. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I almost forgot, here's some pictures of that property.
Thank you. All right, continuing on our agenda, next we have presentations and public hearings. We have a public hearing regarding a common victualler license application for Root and Press LLC, doing business as Root and Press Cafe and Workspace at 163 Washington Street in Auburn. Is anyone here from Root and Press? Oh, why don't you come on up, please? And do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, so do you want to tell us about it?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Richard Collins.
Make sure you speak into the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Sure, my name is Richard Collins. We currently operate a cafe in Worcester on Shrewsbury Street. It's a bookstore cafe. We've operated there for a little over 2 years. We started on the west side of Worcester and outgrew a space. We opened in 2019, so we've been operating since then. Through word of mouth, through some food vendors and everything, I came across the information that Lundgren Honda was looking for an operator for an existing cafe space. We reached out, got together, and we seem to have come up with a scenario that I hope benefits both their existing business and kind of accentuates our existing business. We're not going to be as large as we are. We're not going to be a bookstore. We're just really offering lighter scale food, drink, baked goods, stuff like that. That's the plan.
Okay,
Submitted
thank
to
you.
the DPW and the Health Department.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Anyone?
I'm just sad you're not opening a bookstore.
No bookstore. We have it, yeah, we have that right on Shrewsbury Street, like 10 minutes away, but we don't want to oversaturate the market with
I guess I have a question on signage. Any planned signage out front?
Not currently. Honda, I know, is very particular about what you can do on their signage, so the plan is, you know, kind of use word of mouth, use the existing employees in Honda and their own customer base to support the cafe, as opposed to, you know, putting a sign out front and drawing people. They're kind of working on something to let people know that we're there, because it's, you know, it's a big facility, and to let people coming in know that we actually exist. You know, it's kind of by the parts department and the service center. You might not see it if you're visiting only certain parts of the department, but right now, no plans for signage or anything like that on the outside of the building, because we're still kind of seeing what we can do, because I guess Honda is pretty strict.
I wish you the best of luck.
Questions? And your hours of operation will be?
We're planning on 6:30 to 2:30, and then we're going to gauge how business goes from there. Any operating hours would be within the Honda parts department, I mean, the service center. Just simply, we don't have independent access to the building and stuff like that.
Okay, and how many days a week?
6 planned right now.
Does anyone from the public wish to make any comments? All right, and we're all set. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Do I hear another motion?
Make a motion to issue a common victualler license to Root and Press LLC, doing business as Root and Press Cafe and Workspace at 163 Washington Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to issue the license. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. We're all set, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, the next we have the Auburn Public Schools. You can come on up. The Auburn School Committee and School Superintendent request for a board vote to approve a sped stabilization transfer. of $85,489.28. Good evening.
This is a second request. I was here back in January. The same request to fund some unexpected special education outplacements that happened late last year and early into this year. The full amount has been approved by the school committee. We are still awaiting some information on LEA assignments and the like, and thus the reason for the second request, not requesting the whole amount up front.
Questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, I just have a couple clarifying questions. The way that it's sort of in the memo, it's a little confusing because it seems a little backwards to me, but the total request, after you make all 3 stabilization requests, will be 256 and change.
Correct.
Okay. The balance before you made your first request was 605.7, and the final remaining balance after you deduct the 256 will be the 349 and change.
That's correct, if we end up using that entire 256.
And I just want to confirm that the reason why this was sort of not foreseen in the budget is that based on the enrollment dates, at least 3 of these students enrolled after we had already gone through the fiscal year budget.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about any state reimbursement we might be eligible for on this?
Well, through circuit breaker, we do get a reimbursement on a portion of it.
Yep.
And that all depends on the services that the students received and the amount of their placement. So typically, that's 75% of anything over $52,000, again, based on the services they receive at the placement.
Okay, thank you. So 75% over 52,000?
75% of anything paid over $52,000, as long as it's a qualifying expense. So that depends on the therapies and such that they receive.
That's a pretty high base before
Yes, it
kicks
is.
in.
Correct.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize a transfer of $85,489.28 from the SPED stabilization account.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize the transfer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. You're all set.
Thank you very much for your support. Appreciate it.
All right, continuing, we have, next we're at number 8, Select Board General Items. Okay, we're going to look at Part C. We're going to look at board voting on recommendations on the May 5th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant articles. Now, it would be 1, we could recommend approval, 2, not recommend approval, 3, defer to the petitioner, or 4, take no position at this time. Okay? So let's take a look at the warrant. Do we want to group any of these together?
Madam Chair, can I just clarify? We can also, if we decide we do not have enough information, vote to hold voting on that until we've done previously.
I think that would take no position at this time, right? And then we would add it at the night of the town meeting.
What we did last time was we actually held it to the next meeting if we were syncing information, and rather than holding it until all the way to town meeting.
Because these have to be, we're looking at this meeting and the following meeting, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. And the following meeting is probably going to be in 1 week, correct?
Correct.
Because then it has to all go to the printers. All right, so we could hold it off till 1 week. All right. So Article 1 here, the reports of the Finance Committee, other town officers and committees. We don't need a recommendation on that. Article 2, to see if the town meeting will vote to fix the salary and compensation of elected town officers.
Make a motion, we defer to the petitioner.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to defer to the petitioner. Any questions? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Article 3, determine what sums of money the town meeting will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provide for and appropriate to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, and to provide for reserve fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027, or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, the Finance Committee is still going through their process for the budget. I would ask that we hold this until they have completed their review. It's not perfect, but I heard they might have 3 more meetings, so that would probably put us after well, it would put us at our first meeting in April. But I don't think it's appropriate for us to take a position when the budget could still be and has already been adjusted since we reviewed it in February.
Questions?
Madam Chair, I would just say I agree with Mr. Carpenter on that. I'm not comfortable taking a vote on the final budget until we have the actual numbers, knowing that they've already adjusted several line items. The Finance Committee already has in conjunction with the town manager.
What is our drop dead date for the printing?
We'll be sending to print on April 9th, April 10th.
We always make a report at town meetings. Our recommendation is not necessarily going to rock the world of anybody. And I think it's more important that we make an informed decision than make an ill-informed decision.
All right, so do I hear any motion on this article?
Make a motion that we hold this article till our first meeting in April.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd make the same argument on Article 4.
Can you make the motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we hold this to our first meeting in April.
Second.
So we have a motion to hold Article 4 until the first meeting in April. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, I think we can group Articles 5 and some of the other ones together.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we take Articles 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Yep.
12,
Well, no, just through 11, I believe.
not to go just through 11.
Yeah, because,
Okay,
okay.
I'll make that motion
You make a motion to take Articles 5 through 11 together
as one. Yes.
as one.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to take Articles 5 to 11 as one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval on said articles.
Second.
Okay, and just for conversation, these are the annual articles that we put forth on the town meeting warrant every year, just to authorize departments to enter into contracts and to do business. So we have a motion and a second to recommend. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have the next three articles. We could take those together or do them individually. They regard their school committee articles.
They're all reimbursements, so I would make a motion that we take Articles 12, 13, and 14 as one.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to take Articles 12, 13, and 14 as one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, do I hear a motion on Articles 12, 13, and 14?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
Second.
So we have a motion to recommend approval on those three articles. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Article 15, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $30,000 from free cash for purchase and setup of an access control system for Town Hall and the Marion Building, or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
Second.
Questions? Okay, we have well set, have a motion and a second to recommend approval on Article 15.
Madam Chair, can I just ask one question
Sure.
on this? Is this the access control, is this the security access control to the two buildings? Or is this?
That is correct. Currently, there is a, you need to use a code. Unfortunately, a lot of people have that code and have access to our building. So this will allow the installation of a key fob system that can be managed. So if someone is no longer employed, we can cut off access so that we don't have people having access to our records and our offices.
And just also a clarifying question, in terms of just ensuring that, that we're not maintaining different systems. I know that the police department has in their capital budget a similar system. Will this be the same system?
It is the same system.
Thank you.
So I believe we have a motion and a second? Correct? All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right. Article 16, to see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $25,000 from general fund revenues for training, support, and reevaluation services, or act on anything relative thereto from the town assessor.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to recommend approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 17, to see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $14,079 from free cash to the Conservation Commission Wetlands Fund account number 261019 to replenish the fund for the land use coordinator salary or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion we recommend approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, recommend approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Article 18, to see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $314,000 from free cash to fund the purchase and installation of a new generator at Auburn High School or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion we recommend approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recommend approval. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 19, to see if town meeting will vote to allow an approved representative to perform services to the town for an eligible taxpayer under Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5K, who is physically unable to provide services to the town or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
A second. Sorry.
So, do we have any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend Article 19. Any question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 20, see if town meeting will vote to amend Chapter 14, Section 14.03 of the general bylaws by inserting two new sections, 14.031B and 14.031C, as presented below in bold and red. And this is regarding stormwater management.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second to recommend approval on Article 20. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right. Article 21, to see if the town manager will vote to appropriate $27,000 from free cash to replace the roof at the Historical Museum or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
A second.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Is this, maybe I'll ask you, or should Joanna come up?
Joanna.
Joanna, why don't you please come on up, our DPW director? My question is just, is this the roof on the main building? I know there's several smaller buildings there.
Yes, this is the Historical Museum at South Street, so the main building.
Main building, okay. And when would that work be done?
If funding was available, we would want to get pricing and do it right away. So it would depend on procurement and then availability of a contractor.
Okay, where did the $27,000 come? Was that an estimate from a company?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to recommend Article 21. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, Article 22, to see if town meeting will vote to repurpose the unexpended CIP funds appropriated for cemetery flag poles at the May 2nd, 2023 annual town meeting by amending Article 4 of said meeting as follows. Appropriate $13,879.37 to be used to procure services, supplies, and equipment to expand the Hillside Cemetery or act on anything relative thereto.
Make a motion that we recommend approval.
A second.
Any questions? All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Article 23, to see if the town meeting will vote to accept Nancy Drive as a public way from Vinyl Street to the end of Nancy Drive for a total distance of 1,044 feet, as shown on a plan prepared by B&R Survey Incorporated entitled Street Acceptance Plan Prepared for the Town of Auburn, dated June 10th, 2025, and as filed with the town clerk, or act on anything relative thereto.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we recommend approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Article 24, protect, this is a citizen's petition, protect our vulnerable neighbors. Request for parking signage on Simmons Street, Auburn, Mass. Residents on Simmons Street are deeply concerned about resident safety during Bryn Mawr school pickup and drop-offs. We are requesting the town of Auburn to post street signage for parking on one side of the street. Simmons Street is very narrow. When parents of Bryn Mawr students park on both sides of Simmons Street, they are putting Simmons Street residents in danger. No ambulance, free truck, or emergency vehicles can enter our street. Parents of Bryn Mawr students have ample parking on Bryn Mawr baseball field on Swanson Road. Numerous requests from principals have been sent to parents. However, the requests are still ignored. Please make our street safe.
Madam Chair, do we have the citizen in question here?
Is Ms. Gillies here? No? I beg your pardon? You could come on up and maybe tell us about, and then I think we just want to hear from our DPW director, too.
Baker, I live at number 5.
Okay, speak into the mic. Yep, thank you.
Okay. And the problem is, we couldn't even get an ambulance up our street if we wanted. And the problem, another problem is, the parents stand in the middle of the street and talk. You know, like, they don't even get out of the way. And that's why we need, you know, they don't park in the schoolyard like we're told to. So it's really a serious problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Joanne, do you want to just talk to us about this?
Good evening. So it's my understanding that that the petition is to have the street deemed a no parking zone. So to include it into, I think the general bylaws is one of the streets that that parking is not allowed. I'm not sure if there's a way to amend this on town meeting floor so that that's specifically stated. And once that's deemed a no parking, a street with no parking allowed, then it would be able to be enforced.
Okay. It looks like the article states that they're looking to post street signage for parking on one side of the street.
So I guess the article could be amended to say,
Oh, it's going to be amended?
Well, I'm not the petitioner, so I think the petitioner or a town meeting could amend it to say no parking on, let's say, the odd or even side of the street. But unless we have that in the bylaws or stated somewhere in the bylaws, I don't believe that the police would be able to enforce anything, like, just putting up a street sign.
Again, through the chair, the petitioner has been notified, then an amendment would have to be made on the town meeting floor.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yep.
ask a couple questions. Did you want to go first, sir?
Go ahead, because maybe you're going to ask it already.
I just wanted to know if our DPW engineering went out there and did an analysis on this in terms of what's the width of the pavement on the street.
We have not gone out, but now that the snow is melted, we can certainly go out and take a look. I think that if the residents are in agreement that they would like to have that no parking, because it would still be, it would affect them as well, right? Because they would be not allowed to park on their own street. But if they're in agreement, then we wouldn't, we would go by what is voted on a town meeting floor.
The only other thing I would note is in the future, when we have these types of issues come forward, Mass General Law allows either town meeting or the select board to make rules and regulations regarding the public way. And rather than making these residents go through 6 months or 5 months of process, they probably could have came before us had they known that, and we could have maybe taken care of this issue back in December or January for them. So in the future, when residents are bringing up these types of issues, we might just, whoever they dealt with, whoever they made contact with in the town staff level, might just want to let them know that that is also an avenue where they could have gone through.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair, to the town manager, is the only option to make this a no parking at all street? I don't know that that actually is helpful for all the residents. Like, if you can't park on the street where you, I get for school pickup, it is an issue. I can see it through the pictures that that is an issue. However, that would restrict them from parking on the street too, and I don't know that that is what they're intending. I mean, she's not here, so I don't know for sure, but I certainly wouldn't want to restrict them from having guests or things like that that can also now no longer park on the streets, because you can't park on Swanson Road either, so there's no real other option for them, and that would be my biggest concern.
That's a good point.
Through the chair, if I could suggest, I mean, there might be a possibility to restrict parking within those school hours. If, that might be a possible solution.
So that would require an amendment on town meeting floor. No, I think, personally for me, I think there's a lot of factors that, a lot of questions I have before I would say, yes, let's make no parking. I think we need to hear from the police department. We need to have the DPW look at this and give us, is it even feasible? It looks like a pretty narrow road as it is, and, it could be problematic. And if you don't have adequate off-street parking, if you have VNA services or any sort of home services, Meal on Wheels, this could create, a problem, unintended consequence. I would make a motion that we defer to the petitioner on this.
I'll second.
And we could ask the fire chief or police chief to come to our next meeting.
Right, but if we defer to the petitioner, then we've already taken a recommendation on this. To the chair's point, I'd like to actually hear from the police and the fire and give the residents, or at least the petitioner, the opportunity to come back before us and sort of make their case and explain why we want that.
I do actually have one other comment. Would this be a place appropriate for sidewalks? Because it looks like in these pictures, that's an awful lot of young kids walking in the street.
And I think that's something that our DPW staff could tell us if they go out and not just measure the pavement width, but also the right-of-way width to see what room is available outside the pavement if a sidewalk is
Sure.
visible.
So I'll
Thank you.
withdraw my motion, and I'll make a motion instead that we continue this to April 4th, our first meeting in April, and that we request that the relevant departments be present and be prepared to give a report on their respective specialties.
Can we ask that, because I believe we're planning on meeting in 1 week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so can we ask that that they come to our next meeting on March 30th?
I don't want professional staff having to rush a decision. I think that I don't want to make an ill-advised decision, so I would prefer that we keep it till April so that they have time, they're not just sitting around looking for something to do. They're actually got a lot to do. So to ask them to give us a report that might be meaningful within a week, I don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to the residents.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I made a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, let's look at, that's 24. Let's look at Article 25. To see if town meeting will vote to further amend Article 14 of the December 15th, 2003 special town meeting by deleting the following condition, which was made as a condition for acceptance. Delivery of bond acceptable to the Auburn Conservation Commission and the Auburn Planning Board written within 14 day of the special town meeting of December 15, 2003, in the sum of $100,000. The bond is to be accepted by the planning board prior to the release of the existing bond on Potter Farm Estates or act on anything relative thereto. This is a citizen's petition. Are these citizens here? Why don't you come on up? Walter Stewart and Lynn Gary. Hi.
Thank you. My name is Lynn Gary. I live at 5 Fox Run Circle. Unfortunately, Mr. Stewart couldn't be here this evening. This came to light fairly recently when we were looking into we requested a couple of stop signs, and we learned that technically the streets, 7 streets in total, are not considered totally public streets, even though the town plows and repairs streets and sidewalks and things like that. So come to find out that dating back to, as you said, 2003, this one condition apparently wasn't included in the conditions that were voted on at the time. So we're asking for this final condition that's unable to be accomplished to be taken care of as basically a housekeeping measure. So we just want that removed so we can fully have the streets accepted as public ways. There's no way this can be paid. There's no builder, there's no association, and it's very old.
If I may, through the chair, I had worked with Ms. Gary and Mr. Stewart on this issue, and I agree with her assessment on what had happened. There was this one requirement that was left over from years ago that should have been removed by now. With the removal of this, the town will be able to take over the roads and make the improvements that need to be made.
Okay. Questions?
You have one question. In that this involves conservation, will we have a recommendation from conservation in time for?
The conservation meeting is this week.
I was on the planning board when this came up, and I remember partially why this was done. I won't bore anyone with the details, but it was not a fun subdivision to have to deal with when it came to approving the road. That's why it was not built properly at the time, so that's why some of these situations came up at that time. So that's why these conditions were in place.
Can I ask then, was this condition to, if we took on the road as a town road, to ensure that it got built up to spec?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I just want to go on the record and say I'm supportive of Article 25 and 26, but in order to, I would like to hear from the Auburn Conservation Commission their recommendation. So I make a motion that we hold this till our next meeting.
Second.
So you have a motion and a second to hold until our next meeting. Any other questions? No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, Article 26. We just did that for 20, did you do 25 and 26?
No, because we did not make a motion to take them
Okay.
together. But
So-
I will make a motion to hold Article
Yep.
26 until the next meeting.
Can I have a quick question too? Has DPW looked at these roads, and would there be a cost to bring them up to spec now?
Yes, the roads and the sidewalks are, I'm not sure how old, but they are in disrepair, and they would, if accepted as a town road, they would be put on the list along with all the other roads.
But they were functionally accepted at the time. There were just some issues. So they're ours. to an extent. There's just this leftover issue that remains. So they're entitled to actually get repairs on their roads, because, again, town meeting did take an action in 2003, and we've seen it in the past as well, which is something I never recommend, adopting things with conditions, because people forget. And we saw it with Nancy Drive from the 70s, and we've seen it more recently with roads off of Oxford Street North and things like that. But it puts the residents in a pickle, so, you know, the road has been, I forget, the development was in the early 90s. It started in the early 90s, but it continued for quite some time. Brilliant. Thank you, Joanna.
So, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
second, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a motion, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, Article 27, to see if the town will vote to direct and authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court, Massachusetts State Legislature, for a special act as follows: an act providing for rent regulation and control of evictions in manufactured housing parks in the town of Auburn. Be enacted that the Senate and House of Representatives and General Court assembled, and by the authority of the same, as follows. Section 1, the town of Auburn, Mass. May, by bylaw, regulate rents for the use of or occupancy of manufactured housing parks in said town, established a rent board or other administrative board, and regulate evictions in such parks. Section 2, the board shall have the authority to establish a maximum allowable rent, review rent increases, and set standards for fair net operating income for park owners in accordance with General Law, Chapter 140, Section 32A to 32S. In Section 3, this act shall take effect upon its passage or take any other action relative thereto. In Citizens Petition, Alan Rafferty. Sir, do you want to go?
Good evening. If this article provides you with any sense of deja vu, it's because it was before you about 2 years ago. For some reason, it was not taken up by the Board of Selectmen, so this warrant article benefits me in no way at all. This benefits only the residents in mobile homes in the town of Auburn. I do have a brief statement I can read from the research that I did on this issue, so if you'll indulge me. Auburn has the broad discretion to regulate mobile home park rents under well-established state law. Numerous municipalities in Massachusetts, I believe there's about 30 of them at this point, including smaller towns like Raynham and Salisbury, have already done so to protect vulnerable residents, and I recommend that Auburn should follow suit. Like most mobile home communities in Massachusetts, the parks are populated primarily by individuals living on small fixed incomes due to disability and advanced age. Within the park's population, there are two types of tenants: renter tenants who don't own the unit and pay monthly for both a unit and a lot, and owner tenants who own a unit and pay a lower monthly lot fee to keep their unit on the lot. These residents usually choose the mobile home lifestyle because generally it is much more affordable than traditional housing. Older residents have even told us that they intended this to be their final stop in retirement due to the low cost when they moved in. However, since purchasing the parks by certain firms from across the country, these companies have inflated rents to the point where many residents can no longer afford the cost. Renter tenants have seen their increases go up 40%, bringing their monthly payments from under $1,000 to over $1,300. This is in particular in Auburn. And owner tenants' lot fees, which were just under $500, are going up by $100 to $115. In fact, the increases have hit some tenants so hard that a group of residents have taken upon themselves to set up a food bank for those who are now struggling to afford basic necessities. Despite the name, most modern mobile homes are not movable, and even if they were, there is a limited space in existing mobile home communities. As a result, it is essentially impossible for owners to relocate their units. Meanwhile, the affordable housing crisis plaguing Massachusetts, most renter tenants won't be able to find more traditional housing within their budgets. These vulnerable people should not be expendable at the price of higher profits for these companies. Auburn has the clear authority to prevent companies from imposing such unconscionable rent increases on its mobile home park residents. Specifically, as permitted under Mass General Law, the town can pass an ordinance to create a rent control board with the power to regulate rents in mobile home communities. Numerous towns in Massachusetts have done that, like I said, over 30. Both the Massachusetts Legislature and Supreme Judicial Court have recognized that residents of mobile home communities should be protected from exploitation by mobile home park owners. The legislature passed the Manufactured Housing Act for this reason. And the Supreme Judicial Court has written that mobile home parks provide a viable, affordable housing option to many elderly persons and families of low and moderate income. Auburn should exercise its power and pass a mobile home park rent control ordinance as quickly as possible. While it endeavors to do so, the town can also take more immediate steps to protect its mobile home park residents. The town can, for example, send inspectors to the parks with greater regularity to see what the conditions are like there and to regulate them. In the absence of a strong and swift action by the town, more mobile home residents in Auburn will face the prospect of homelessness due to unchecked rent increases. As a matter of fact, the Lawyers for Civil Rights have filed a lawsuit against a particular company in town, and 5 residents were part of that lawsuit. I know for a fact that of the 5 that joined that lawsuit, 2 have moved away because they couldn't afford to live there anymore. To give you a little bit more, rent control regulations are slightly different from place to place. In general, mobile home rent control regulations follow certain principles. Each city or town sets up an agency and a process to review rent increases. The process will tell you how decisions are made. The agency is made up of local government staff or an appointed voluntary board with the power to make the decisions. Some regulations give agencies the right to make rules that limit the reasons why park owners can evict tenants, which is another problem that they suffer from. Not all municipalities in mobile home rent with rent control have to do this or have done this. Each town sets up a legal standard or formula that the local agency must use to determine whether or to what extent a park owner can increase the rent. Rent control formulas are used to set specific rent increases for individual park tenants and general rent increases for tenants in a particular park. Although rent control formulas vary from place to place, most allow park owners to earn what is called a fair net operating income. A fair net operating income is defined as total income the owner earns from the park after deducting operation costs. And each town or city with rent control board decides what that operating cost and what is income. So that's a general background of what I'm proposing. And even though I'm not an expert on this particular item, I have done some research, and I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
Madam Chair, I don't have any questions. I first just want to thank Mr. Rafferty for bringing this forward. Just one correction. This language had not come before us previously. What came before us was tenants of that, as well as their pro bono legal counsel, who thought we had already adopted this, and unfortunately at the time we hadn't. This board and the town manager explained that to them, recommended that they go out and bring this to town meeting, so that town meeting can consider implementing these protections. They chose to file lawsuits, as you know, and as you mentioned. I don't want anyone to read more into my comments on the larger rent control ballot initiative that's coming in November, but specifically for manufactured homes, this was specifically exempted from the 1994 statewide vote that banned rent control because everybody across the board recognized the need to protect those living in manufactured homes, at the time called mobile homes, because of their vulnerable state. As you said, most are on fixed incomes for whatever reason, elderly, veterans, and they lack the ability to be more mobile when it comes to looking for housing if they're evicted, or they are more vulnerable to higher rents as the capitalist market takes hold. And that's why the legislature carved out in that legislation this provision. There are just shy, I believe, of 30 municipalities that currently do this. There's not mobile homes in a ton of communities throughout the state, so it's not surprising that only 30 out of 300 plus communities have enacted this. But for me, when those residents came before us, I wanted them to bring something like this forward because I think that it's one of the things that the town can do to protect our most vulnerable residents. So I'm happy that you brought this forward. Thank you for doing so. I was happy that I ran into you coming out of Shaw's as you were collecting the signatures, and I was one of the 10 signatures that put this on town meeting. So I have no questions. With that, I will recommend favorable recommendation.
I actually have a few questions. Yep. This might be to the town manager, though, through the chair. What would the cost be to the town to set up a rent control board? I understand from Mr. Rafferty's research that it can be a volunteer board, but I imagine there would need to be some oversight from the town. Is it like a staff member? Is it like a part of a duty? Is it like a quarter of somebody's job? I just want to get an idea of
Through the chair, I think it would be handled much like any other board or commission, where we would have either staff member or myself work with the board to reach their objective. I'm not sure it would be a lot of time. The board would have their objective to do what they need to do and then work with us.
Right. And then my second question is, can you reach out to one of the other 30 towns that have enacted this? I'm all for it. I don't want to imply that I'm not, but I want to understand I can see all of the good things that would come out of it. I just want to also understand what pitfalls might be for the town.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If I could respond to that. At the present time, the town of Auburn has multiple boards that operate, and there is a staff support that takes place. So there would be a minimal cost, and there always could be an issue where the developers could file a lawsuit if they didn't like the decision of the control board. Well, that is true for any of the boards. And I certainly don't think we mean to argue that because a board doing its duty might be sued, that we shouldn't have the board. That's the price of doing business, quite simply. And you're basically, I consider this rent control board, even though I don't mean to embarrass the people who live there, but this is an act of charity. This is what we're saying. We're saying use the power of government to help the vulnerable populations, okay? And there are some costs, but these are the most vulnerable people, among the most vulnerable people. And so it is a charitable contribution by the town. And I will say this, according to some estimates I've gotten from online, this may impact 500 people, 500 residents. Okay, that's a conservative, rough estimate. And I have been in touch with those folks, and they are very interested in how the board is going to decide this and town meeting, and they are going to pay attention to the elections that are coming up. So it's not a tiny population. It's not like it's like I think you just approved a street, private street taken over. There's going to be exorbitant costs there, having a private street go public. And the cost with this, there can be an estimate of what the costs are going to be, but we really don't know. And in addition, if you're going to reach out to other towns that have a rent control board, I don't think it should be just one. Okay, you really need to reach out to a substantial number of them to figure out how things are going for them in order to get an accurate picture of how they're dealing with it.
Thank you.
Dan, any comments?
No, it's pretty much covered what the other members said. I would support getting additional information. I think that's important as we approach town meetings so that town staff has the ability to answer frequently asked questions. I think it's always beneficial. And I do just want to correct, Potter Farm and those roads were conditionally approved. They are public roads with a condition. They are not a private road. So we didn't approve a private road to simply, town meeting is being asked to remove 2 items that they placed on it, which are no longer germane. So they addressed the issue. That's what that's about.
So while the board is considering this, I would ask you to consider it on the merits of what it's about and the benefits. If you are at all concerned about any of the finances, I think the Finance Committee would be the appropriate board to take a stand on that as opposed to the Board of Selectmen.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we hold this item until our first meeting in April, to give staff time to do the outreach that has been requested.
I'll second.
Before we vote on that, can I just confirm that staff will be able to do that outreach?
Yes, we will.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, Article 28, to see if the town of Auburn will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the evaluation and reconditioning of the town's baseball fields to improve safety, playability, and long-term maintenance, or take any action relative thereto. Citizen petition, James McGlynn. Is Mr. McGlynn here?
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off,
Can you make sure to speak? Thank you.
is it on?
Yeah.
First off, I just want to thank the DPW for helping us out every year for maintaining the fields. And it just happened that Dr. Chamberlain and Ms. Stanek are here, and they help us with other fields, so thank you. And the town of Auburn for giving us the ability to have the amazing facilities for our kids to play at. With that said, I've been doing this for 14 years now with different sports, and the DPW does a great job of maintaining everyday maintenance, cutting the grass, doing things like that. Where we're seeing the largest issues is deferred maintenance and erosion of the grass fields. Particularly one example is Bryn Mawr, where you're talking about all the parking and everything. It's almost like all the water comes from the school down and wipes everything out. Fuller Field, which is up at the Pappas facility, is experiencing erosion coming down the mountain way. All the rocks are actually going onto the field. And last year we had instances of actual sinkholes appearing. And when I say sinkholes, there was a hole that a human foot, I don't have big feet, but size 10, could fit right down. So what we're asking is, in cooperation and coordination with the DPW is take a more proactive approach to the fields. We're not asking for a sum of money because what we see is collaborative and where we look at it and agree on what steps need to be taken to move forward to maintain the fields. Not only are they utilized by Auburn Youth Sports, but also they're rented out to adult and youth leagues and also other functions. So it's the overall upkeep that we're looking for assistance with and to improve it. Not only the erosion, this is for I'm specifically speaking about grass fields today, and the reason for that is with the grass fields, what is made up, either the dirt or the grass, makes up a lot of what the kids and the adults are both running on and playing on. It's uneven surfaces. The dirt at the baseball fields are like concrete. If you go to Franklin Field, it is literally like we can't have the kids slide because they literally tear their pants and they're injured. So that's kind of a long story short. Any questions?
What is your capacity? Are you with a youth sports organization?
So I'm here representing the Auburn Little League, and the president, Matt Kruger, is here also. I belong to multiple boards for the youth sports within Auburn. I have 3 kids in town, 3 boys, 17, 15, and 10, just to give you a little bit of background. So when I say I've been doing it for 14 years, I have in different capacity. And it's just at the point now where it's concerning where we're getting to with the deferred maintenance, which no fault of the DPW, they're doing what they need to do. It's just the overall fixing of it. We did get an estimate previously for Lemansky, which I didn't even address yet, which is right across from the police station. That is our quote-unquote senior league field. I don't know if everyone's aware, but our senior league team did go to the World Series 2 years ago. All the way in South Carolina, represented Auburn, was on ESPN representing Auburn. And when we can't play at that field when we have tournament games or anything like that because of the condition of the field.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Yes, sir.
Probably for the administration or the director. Can we approve something that is just a sum of money? I believe we have to have a certain budget amount in order for town meeting to vote on it, correct?
Yes, actually, we did get legal counsel's opinion, and I do believe there's going to be an amendment on the floor at the town meeting for a dollar amount so that this can be voted.
So, and just to be clear at that, with the emails that were going back asking for an amendment, I'm not comfortable putting a dollar amount on it because, number one, I don't want to put anything on the town or DPW to say, hey, this is the amount. The first thing we're asking to, and we were asked to put in a sum of money just to say that, or money, is the collaboration with the town and the DPW to go do site visits together to look at it. That costs nothing. What that does is allows everyone to see what needs to be done, and then we could agree on a path going forward. Just to give you a little bit of background, we didn't ask anything for Kamasi, which is the turf field. We've been, not only has the DPW been brushing it and used the machine on it, we've, over the last 5 years, replaced the mound not once but twice at our own cost. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, Matt, we also repaired the turf for the batter's box. These are only temporary fixes, and there's not a dollar amount we could put to it, so that's why we're asking for more of a collaboration and assistance with addressing it. If you want, we have an estimate for $18,000 for Lemansky alone, and that doesn't even touch the outfield, which is probably worse condition than the infield.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, I'm supportive of this. I think that this leads to me to a larger issue when it comes to supporting our youth sports through a recreation department, a more comprehensive recreation department, and in better managing all of the fields, working collaboratively with the various sports groups that utilize them, better organizing the use of the fields across our entire our entire portfolio. DPW has a lot on their plate. They're not properly funded, in my opinion, to accomplish a lot of what we ask them to do, especially to maintain high-quality playing fields, like our sports demand. The school department does the best job they can, but managing fields is not sort of something that they should be doing. It's not their expertise. Their expertise is educating children. And I think that on the same point, we cannot always, we only have so much tax levy to go around. And that's why I think that it's important that we start thinking more creatively on how we finance these types of things through enterprise funds or revolving funds. And the reason why I asked that question is not because I'm looking for a number. It's because I want to see something like this go forward. I want to see it grow. I want to see that collaboration take place. I just don't know if town meeting can take up an issue that does not have an actual, I don't think they can vote on something that says a sum of money.
No.
That's my concern, is that I don't want this to die at town meeting and then nobody thinks about it. I want this to keep moving forward.
No, and completely understand, and that's why I wanted to just bring that up again, is we don't want to die either, so the faster we could collaborate with the spring season coming up, and by the way, I do have to give kudos to Mrs. Stanek, who has to deal with the scheduling of everything, and we got together, what was it, last year. It was different. It was Auburn Little League, football, soccer, basketball. We all got together with the school district because they streamlined that system and what we ended up saying is, let's all work together, and that's what we did. And that's, and I'm smiling and laughing now, is exactly what you're saying is the reason why we started with the baseball fields, is we didn't want to come and say, hey, we need help with everything, which you probably do, because you need larger oversight. Like you said, we don't expect the DPW to walk the high school football field, which, by the way, if you go and walk every inch, you're going to see some issues, right? No, what we want to do is have the low-hanging fruit. Let's collaborate, let's look at it. And so that's what I'm asking here, and I completely understand what you're saying, but if there's a way that we could word it or look at it where we move forward with it on getting eyes on it, or come up with a solution to get eyes on it. Does that make sense?
It does. Can I ask that perhaps town staff work with the petitioners to, I know it has to be amended on the floor, but help them develop the wording that we can then have a town meeting member put forward to amend it so that we can get this moving forward and not have it die because it defined a sum of money and did not have a dollar amount attached to it.
Absolutely.
And thank you. And again, just reiterate it, we don't want to come here as any organization, I don't want to speak for them all, to say, hey, we need a handout of X amount of money. Also, just one other thing is Matt in the Little League and all the youth sports have done a great job of hosting. We don't host enough. And the reason why, and that doesn't generate enough revenue, not only for our leagues, but for the town, because of the condition of the facilities and the amenities that they don't have. So this is the beginning stage. We could have we joked around, we could have came with,
$10 million worth of projects.
probably millions of dollars actually, but we didn't want to. So we thank you for your time. I get diarrhea of the mouth, so thank you, and we appreciate everything. Have a good one.
You and me both.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Do we hear a motion?
Make a motion, we hold this till April, the first meeting in April.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to hold until the first meeting in April. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So that's Article 28. We'll look at Article 29, the last one. To allocate an additional $550,000 from free cash to the roadway improvement CIP account under 421 Highway Division, DPW, to fully fund paving of at least 3 miles of roads based on DPW cost estimate of $130 per linear foot, and additional money for permanent patching of chronic pothole locations and other roadway deficiencies. Questions?
I think the board was pretty clear when this was brought up a couple of meetings ago what our position was. So I'm not pleased to see this in this way, but it's there, and that's, if I'm doing what I want to do, it would be to recommend not doing this, not because I don't support additional funds for roads, but the board was clear. We wanted to look to see what was happening at the federal level, at the state level, before we committed. We have a town meeting in October. We can do amendments to the budget as we have done for time immemorial. So I just, as I said, I'm not happy, but whatever.
So I will just say that waiting till October town meeting sounds great in theory, but you lose an entire construction season at that point. And time and again, the one thing that residents have asked for, whether they are people that think we don't pay enough taxes or people that think we pay too many taxes, is fix the roads. We all hear it consistently, fix the roads. And I think the town manager, provided the sum of money that the DPW director asked for in order to fix the roads. I don't think anyone collectively realized that the roads cost $130 per linear foot. It came out when I asked that question, or actually during our budget hearing, and simple math showed that, we had a 20-year plan, and everybody hypes on this 20-year plan. The 20-year plan required significantly, in order to be a true 20-year plan of paving between 4.4 and 4.5 miles per year to guarantee that every road was paved in 20 years, it required us to actually allocate enough money to pave that. So as the costs increased, we needed to increase the amount of money that went to it. We have all held our DPW director, and I have done this as well, I'm just as guilty as everyone else is, accountable for a decreasing amount of roadways paved from 4.4 miles in 2020 to 1.2 or 1.12 miles in FY25. And it's not because DPW didn't want to pave the roads. It's because simple math. When you look at it, we were not allocating enough money to allow them to do the job that we were demanding them to do. The board decided they did not want to amend it. I understand that. In consultation with another board member and looking at the simple math and deciding that we believe, just like a lot of the residents, that we should be paving our roads, knowing that we have the free cash available, we put together this warrant article. We collected the necessary amount of signatures. We actually collected more signatures than necessary. And we filed this. And the reason why is we weren't trying to forego any process. Town meeting is the authority that gets to say one way or the other per the charter. But we wanted to ensure that if we were going to try to repave the roads, that we provide enough money as possible. And this does not even get us to the 4.4 or the 4.5. It gets us trending back in the right direction so that DPW would be able to pave at least 3 miles of roadways this construction season, not wait another year, so we lose another year, and address those chronic issues that they also use the money for, such as potholes, patching, sunken drain covers, et cetera, that they also use these funds for. Because when the amount of money that they get, not just in our CIP, but also the Chapter 90 money, will only provide enough money in total, and this assumes that the governor's high end of Chapter 90, so the regular Chapter 90 amount plus the extra add-on that the legislature has in theory approved for 5 years, but they still have to fund it every single year. This assumes we're getting that full amount. Is only enough to do 2.67 miles at $130 per linear foot, and nothing else. No other permanent patching, no other filling of potholes, no other drainage, et cetera. Or if town meeting agrees and we want to provide town meeting with that option, if they want to allocate $550,000 in additional free cash, we can then pave at least 3 miles of roads, plus take care of those other issues. I understand that this is a messy process, but the board also decided that they did not want to amend. And I also spoke with members of the Finance Committee as well about this, and they have referenced this warrant article several times in their own hearings as a way that they want to look at prioritizing and taking care of the roads.
I don't have any questions, but I'll make a motion to defer to the petitioner.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to defer to the petitioner. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
I'm going to abstain, since I'm the petitioner.
So it sounds like we'll bring this back in April, since we don't have...
Yes. Yep.
Make a motion, we carry this forward to our first meeting in April.
Didn't three of five is a majority?
3 have to vote in the affirmative.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't, oh, I thought you voted in the affirmative.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I'll second the motion to hold till April.
So we have a motion and a second to address this in our first meeting in April. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. All right, that is it for the warrant articles. Next on our agenda, board discussion and vote on a potential March 30th, 2026 meeting in 1 week. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we hold a meeting on March 30th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and now we have board discussion and possible vote regarding town council.
I make a motion that we hold general counsel until full board is present at our next meeting, we hope.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Town manager item, tabled items, no member items, board discussion and potential vote to issue proclamation as citizen members of the Goddard Centennial Committee who work tirelessly to raise funds and organize the events around the 100th anniversary celebrations of the launch by Goddard. And we have two very similar discussion points to talk about. This one's by Todd.
So can I make a motion that we take A and B together? Seeing as though Mr. Carpenter and I had the same idea separately, but
Well,
they're the same
different.
issue.
Well,
Okay.
they're different.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
mean, I don't care, we can take them. I didn't
We
do
can-
it for credit. I
Neither
just did it
did
'cause
I. I
thought-
just figured rather than discussing the same thing, they were the same group of people organizing the same fabulous events. But essentially, as you know, as everyone that took part in it, we just recently had the Goddard Centennial Committee. The 100th anniversary of Goddard's launch in the beginning of the sort of the space, and there were a set of volunteers from both Auburn and Worcester, ranging in various age levels from teenagers all the way up to adults, who worked tirelessly with town staff over the past year to fundraise, to organize events, to line up speakers from NASA, to line up vendors for both events, to advertise, to promote it, to organize different community groups to support it as well. They worked tirelessly, as this says. They did a lot of work to really elevate, in my mind, Auburn, in Auburn's presence, and make it known nationally that Auburn really was the home of the beginning of the space age, with Goddard's launch of the first missile at Packagug Golf Course, which was actually his aunt's cabbage farm at the time. And those are two great events that we were able to take part in. And we have the April 6th, the volunteer lunch for all of the various volunteer committee members and board members. And I thought it was appropriate, as we are doing with other volunteer members who are stepping off those boards, to actually recognize those volunteers that organize these events at that event with a proclamation, thanking them for their hard work on behalf of the people of the town of Auburn to put this forward.
All right, and may I just mention Part B? Our next member item is a board discussion, potential vote to recognize Town of Auburn employees who participated in the planning and execution of the Auburn Centennial activities. So, Part A, Mr. Corains is to look at issue proclamation as citizen members, and B is from Dan, is to recognize Town of Auburn employees. Dan, did you have anything you want to say?
Yes, so B would be to recognize them at a board meeting. Something that was left off, the CERT team is a group of volunteers that should be recognized. I had put that in my request because I was not sure what Mr. Crane's motion was. So hopefully we can include them with what we have. If not, if we can do that at the next meeting. So it just didn't make it to this line item, but it was in my brief little summary that I supplied. But anyways.
So we are meeting next Monday. Can we add the CERT team? The CERT team is invited to that April 6th event.
Yes, and they are volunteers.
So we can add that, and then, did you want to, I think it's appropriate to present it at that meeting? Okay.
For certain volunteer members, staff members, I thought that it was appropriate at a future board meeting.
Okay.
Unless they want to come to the volunteer event, and we can do it together. I certainly don't mean to exclude them from that event if they would prefer to do so, but.
So we're looking, and we're doing this at a board meeting, all of this, instead of the volunteer
Just
recognition?
B was for staff
Yeah,
members.
so staff is going to be at the board. The CERT team and the citizen members of the Goddard Centennial Committee would be at the April 6th
Okay.
meeting.
At the volunteer event?
Yep.
Okay. Do we need motions?
I would make a motion that we issue, or that we approve member item A.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Perfect.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 11A. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No.
And I would make a motion that we approve member item B.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve member item 11B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and member item 11C, board discussion and potential vote to develop a policy related to the use of gift account monies, and that's put forth by Dan Carpenter.
This was really more just to generate conversation. We have been talking about getting together as boards, and another item came up over the weekend related to the visit that Mr. Delaquila is overseeing as part of economic development, but that's going to be a separate item. But I will be asking in future if we can, at that meeting, have a joint meeting with the Economic Development Committee for that presentation and that meeting. But so this was really just to get conversation going. We know we received a very detailed presentation from the CFO. We have some base knowledge of how much money are in these accounts, and to several conversations that I think we've all had over multiple meetings. We know that budgets are getting tight, and we want to make sure that we are using these funds for their intended purpose, which is, if you have money and we have deferred maintenance, why aren't we using some of this money to do deferred maintenance? If we have equipment that we need, but we can't fund it through the normal course of things, why aren't we using this money? And I also think that there should be some transparency as to how this is approved and when it is approved. Currently, there is no public process. No one knows if this money is being used or it isn't being used, per se, outside of staff. And I think we owe it to the donors to be fully transparent when we accept their money, that we are not going to hoard it for a rainy day, but that we can do so if we have a purpose in mind to build up a certain amount of money. That makes sense, some sort of thresholds, but we should be looking to use these funds in a practical way.
I do have a question. Through the chair to the town manager, if someone gives you a gift, you have to use it for what they've intended it, correct? So if it's like a gift to the animal control for dog food, like, it has to go to dog food, that's my understanding, other than like a gift for the fire department for their gift account. When it's not qualified what it needs to be used
No,
for.
absolutely, you have to.
That is
honor
correct.
Okay.
But most of the donations, as I think you'll attest, are to a gift account. They do not say.
Sure.
Sometimes we have accepted over the years gifts of food for dogs, certain toys for dogs, or not necessarily dogs, for the kennel.
Sure.
We've certainly done that. I'm not, and again, I'm not expecting us to write this tonight. We are looking at financial policies going forward. I'm just suggesting that this should be included in the mix for that and to start getting the conversation going, because we've talked about it in the fall. We haven't had any meetings with anybody. We haven't had any conversations as a board or as a group of boards, and I think, we need to start putting what we say into action, type of thing. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ms. Carpenter that this is something that we should be discussing. I had thought, or my impression was that once the DLS comes back with their full report and recommendations, we were going to be looking at all financial policies, and this would certainly be wrapped into it, because they're going to, my understanding is they're going to have a series of recommendations covering all of our financial policies, and this is definitely one that, when you look at our current policies, is not covered, is not addressed, and I agree. It's, it is an unknown how the money is exactly spent outside of those gifts that are specific. I'm giving XYZ for ABC. And a lot of the money does come in as just a gift to the fire department or a gift to the animal shelter. So I think it is a good idea to set some parameters on how that money is spent, and also put in some level of transparency into when it is spent, that not just finance committee and our board, but also the residents are able to see, hopefully eventually, knock on wood, through an open checkbook type system on the website.
Yes, I was not sure if DLS would even look at these accounts, to be honest with you, so I just figured it was time to raise the issue and see what everybody else thought about it.
So I'll make a motion that, that we develop a policy related to the use of gift account monies when we do our development of our financial policies following the submission of the report from the DLS.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. All right. Item number 12, public comments. Do we have anyone? No? Okay. So item 13, we have been presented with minutes from February 9th, 2026 and February 17th, 2026. Does anyone have any questions or concerns regarding the meetings? The minutes?
I do not.
Okay. So we accept the minutes as read. All right, so our next meeting is a week from today, on Monday, March 30th.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, we're adjourned.